Hey, Matt.
Hey, Jen.
What are you listening to this week? Welcome to Season 6 of What Are You Listening To? The weekly podcast created to foster community through music by sharing the stories behind the songs that soundtrack our lives. Some of the songs are old, some new, all good. I'm Jenn Tully, and this week I'm joined by friend and producer of the show, Matt Sidhom. As you know, Matt is the co-host of the Super Awesome Mix podcast and co-founder of the Super Awesome Mix podcasting network. This week, he's back to chat with me about one of our favorite shared genres, yacht rock. And I think towards the end of the show, he has a special announcement he's going to share with the rest of us. For this episode, Matt and I are going to chat about 4 yacht rock songs that we can't live without. 2 are his picks and 2 are mine. But we did throw a bit of a twist in this week and challenged each other to bring one classic yacht rock song and one new song that sounds like yacht rock, just to keep things interesting. Which songs do you think we're going to discuss? Tune into our conversation to find out. And in case our song picks are new to you, we'll publish a playlist with the episode so you don't miss a beat. With that, let's get started. Matt, what are you listening to this week?
Well, Jen, once again, I'm honored to be on the show. Thank you for having me. For yacht rock, you've got to start with who is essentially the Muhammad Ali of yacht rock. His name is Christopher Cross.
Yes.
And I went with Never Be the Same.
Such a solid choice. Tell me why this one and why not the unofficial yacht rock anthem, Sailin'.
Yeah, okay.
Boy, Christopher Cross.
Let's get this out of the way first, okay? It's like he had Sailing, he had Ride Like the Wind, and Never Be the Same, which, I mean, even if you're just somewhat, if you're about our age, right? I'll say our age,
yes,
Jen.
Thank
and
you.
I mean, you will have heard all 3 of these songs. What's incredible is that all 3 were on his debut album in 1979, and he won 5 Grammys for his debut album. I mean, that's incredible that like he just had this murderer's row. And forget about the yacht rock genre, because some people kind of, mock that sometimes. I mean, I think these are just 3 great songs.
They absolutely are. And I mean, you listed 3 there, like from his debut album, and he continued to crank them out, right? Like he continued, Arthur's Theme, Best That You Can Do. A lot of people think it's called Moon in New York City. That song took off huge. Think of Laura. That's another one that I remember that I thought was like such a beautiful yacht rock. All right. Think we're going to make it. Another favorite. Like, I mean, the guy just kept cranking them out. Like he was the Billie Eilish of yacht rock back in the day, right? Like,
I know it was, yes.
Yeah.
Like, where did this guy come from? And he's just had this new sound kind of, and just kept, you're right. Like just over the years. I mean, I think he's still touring and performing, and anyway, I went with this one just because I just feel like this one is maybe, I don't know, the most underrated of those kind of big 3 from that first album. I mean, everybody knows Sailing, and of course, just by title alone and by sound, people associate it with yacht rock. But I really love this one because if you really listen to this one closely, you can hear like how, whether it was intentional or not, this is almost like how if you're making sourdough bread, you need a starter, right? Like you need a starter, and like the starter kind of makes these other loaves of bread off of that. Yes. This is like the starter for like 50 other songs, including my next pick. But you can hear elements of things from this song in so many other songs, and so maybe that's why I like it so much, that I just feel like it's highly influential too, even if people don't necessarily know it like immediately when they hear it.
No, I completely agree with you. And I love Christopher Cross. I've loved him since I was a kid. I've loved him when it's been an unpopular opinion. He is still touring because I saw him live less than 5 years ago. And when you're asking, like, where did this kid come from? The greater Austin, San Antonio area is the answer to that question. He is a kind of a local boy. I'm air quoting here, but yeah, I mean, he kind of sprung up out of nowhere with this sound no one had ever really heard before in terms of just being mellow, but kind of bluesy. He's a great guitar player. He's got a great voice. Like, I just think that he was exactly, I mean, again, Billie Eilish, I know it sounds like a silly comparison, but I think that's kind of what it was when he showed up on the scene. And this song, like you said, it's just comforting. It's like a hug. It reminds me of simpler times, and I think that that's why I love this one. Sailing, yes, if it's on, I don't skip it, even though I know most people do, but I probably don't need to hear it again, even though I'm sure I will, maybe even after the show. I'll listen to the Christopher Cross album again.
Yeah, we'll just go beginning to end with that album. Yeah,
Right.
That's a good Saturday. That's a good Saturday right there.
I know with the rain, I'm like, I might be all in today, but Never Be the Same it's such a good song. It's such a, it's comforting. This song feels like a hug to me. And so I was really glad that you picked this one. Well, and you mentioned this one kind of being a lead-in or an influencer of your second pick. So tell me about your second song. And remember, we challenged one another, right?
Yes.
We were going to pick one classic yacht rock, and then second was like a modern-ish song that sounds like it could have come from or would fit in the yacht rock genre. So, yes.
Yeah, yacht rock is kind of dialed into a certain time period, late 70s, early 80s. And, I just, when we were planning this show, I said that let's try to find something more recent that would fall into that category because it couldn't have been isolated to that time. And like we said, Christopher Cross, excellent musician, right? Like, just forget about like the output, whether you like it or not. Like, he's objectively a really good musician. And this next guy falls into that category as well. But I picked Carry Me Away by John Mayer.
Yeah, this whole album, this Sob Rock album came out in 2021, and it was like his homage to the 80s. He's around our age. And so I think that this was same thing, like him kind of going in for something familiar, something comforting. It came out in 2021, right as lockdown was starting to ease up a little bit. And I think people were just longing for something that felt good. And this album delivered on that front to me. Are you a fan of this album, or did you just pick this particular song because it fit into the yacht rock genre? I have to know.
No, I like this album. It's interesting because John Mayer loved his first couple of albums, and then he stopped getting a lot of radio airplay, and so I just there were a couple albums there that I kind of missed, and then more recently when you and I became friends, and you're a huge John Mayer fan. And so I was like, all right, I got to get back into his work, because I didn't stop listening because I was like, oh, this guy's done. I hate this stuff. Right. It was more just like, I just didn't get to it kind of thing. Like, there's just so much music out there. And so I've gone back and listened to pretty much all of his albums. And so when this one came out and I heard it was kind of a tribute to the 80s, I was definitely in on that. And yeah, it was just really well done. Like, even if you don't go track for track and just go, oh, I love this song. When you kind of see someone going after a certain theme and they kind of nail it, I feel like that's, honorable in some way, right? Like, I'm like, that's great. And then when I was preparing for this and I heard Never Be the Same, I immediately kind of connected it to this one. And so, we talk about publishing a playlist, like, listen to the playlist and these two back to back. They blend together so well. There's so many elements that I think John Mayer, whether intentionally or not, borrows from Never Be the Same. So, I just immediately was like, this is a yacht rock song. It falls into that genre.
It totally does. And I'm sure it was very much intentional. We hit on it a little bit, and I won't turn this into the John Mayer fan club hour. But when we are speaking about talented musicians and especially guitarists, he's way up there. And I think he's an easy one to hate on because he's a good looking guy and he's had some ups and downs. He's had some celebrity girlfriends, all of the things. But you cannot deny this guy's musicianship and his ability to play the guitar. It's evident experienced in, he plays in a jazz trio whenever, he plays in a blues band, he plays in Dead and Company. I mean, like the guy is clearly very skilled, and I'm amazed. He's often like the the Eddie Van Halen of back in the day. Like you listen to Thriller and you hear Eddie Van Halen all over it.
Yeah.
You listen to almost anybody these days and you can hear John Mayer on their albums as well. Like if people want a sweet guitar solo or something injected into their music, they often call on him. So I think that it was great that he kind of took us. It almost felt like a little present, for his peers or people of our age or of a certain generation when he released this album, because he did take his very skilled guitar hand to playing this very 80s sounding album and everything. And he was all in. I loved that about it too. The videos were very 80s. The album art was very 80s, all the way down to, like the fake sticker that it was in the discount bin, like I think it's called like Price Right or something like that. Like I just love that he was all in on the bit too. That made me love it even more. And I think that you're right. The song fits the bill, the same way that like a Never Be the Same or, some of the Ambrosia love songs of yacht rock. And it still rings true to him too. His songs like Love on the Weekend or Your Body is a Wonderland. Like it's still really catchy. And I love that it kind of has a foot in both genres. And maybe now is a good time to talk about this too. I know you and I have spoken about it, but there's a new documentary on HBO currently. It's a music box series, and it's called Yacht Rock, a documentary, DOCK, like where you'd park a boat.
That was
very
well done.
cute.
That was well done.
I love that. And they talk a lot about the definition of yacht rock, and there are purists, that do not want to deviate from these certain standards. And to me, really anything. And I think it's proven by this playlist. Listeners, if you disagree, certainly let us know. But I think we've been able to pull some songs that don't necessarily fit a strict definition of yacht rock and still feel like they fit squarely in that genre. I know there's a lot about like there were a certain number of session musicians that featured on almost all, like a lot of guys in Toto, basically, single-handedly played on every yacht rock album ever, Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins were like turning out hits, day and
over
night.
And over.
So I feel like my definition is more, it's like a song that evokes a certain time period or mood, more than this strict definition of it has to be this perfect ratio of blues and pop and has to include one of these session players to fit into the genre. So I'm not as much a purist as some. Where do you land on that? Are you more of like, no, it's about the feeling it evokes, or like a strict, it has to be this or it's not yacht rock?
I think it's kind of a feeling thing, right? Because if you listen to, the, serious stations that are all kind of somewhat theme based, right? But some of them are time based, like the 70s on 7 or the 80s on 8. Well, the 80s, even though people kind of say, oh, this is such an 80s song, right? When they talk about things, if you just roll on like an 80s channel, you're going to get a wide range of music, right? And there's going to be a lot of different sounds. And so when I think about yacht rock specifically, it was born of a certain era, but I do think it just kind of evokes sort of the right feeling, And so when I think about more modern artists that are in that category, I think they're ones that don't necessarily fit into other categories, like a Jack Johnson. Like what? That's not rock music, right? Like what is that, right? It's not necessarily folk. It's just kind of this, but it does kind of evoke a feeling. And maybe not every song would fall into that, but I feel like he's probably got a couple of yacht rocky songs in there.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's much more a feeling and music that sounds of a certain time than, yes, there being a strict definition that you must have these things checked in order to be considered yacht rock. One that I did noodle on, and then I will stop digressing, is from the documentary. I support it. I'll start by saying I support it, but it wasn't one that I immediately put in the genre. They were referencing Michael Jackson's song "Human Nature" as being a yacht rock song.
Yes.
And that was one that kind of turned me around. I was like, I didn't think about that as being yacht rock. But the more I listened to it, and I love that song. I mean, who doesn't love the Thriller album? But I love that song. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I didn't initially like have this on any of my yacht rock playlists, but I think I'm going to add it from here on out. Like it fits the bill.
And if you think about it, if you're in a setting where it's like, hey, we're doing a yacht rock theme and you're putting together a playlist, like that song comes on and no one's really thrown off,
Right.
at least musically. Like if they're not really paying attention, it's not going to be jarring in any way. It's just people who are really listening are going to be like, oh, cool. Okay, nice. Yeah. And they're just
Yeah.
going to kind of go with it. But yes, no, that one threw me off. I'd never thought about it either. But yeah, it absolutely falls into the category.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, for my first pick, I'm going to put us right back in like no denying we're in yacht rock territory with maybe the second biggest yacht rock anthem after a Sailing or a Christopher Cross song. So for my first pick, one of my favorite all time songs, and definitely high on the yacht rock greatest yacht rock songs of all time. It's "What a Fool Believes" by the Doobie Brothers. I mean, this Minute by Minute album probably gets more play on my turntable than any other album I own. I love this I love this album. I love every song on it, and I especially love listening to this one on vinyl. When people always ask me, they're like, "But can you really tell a difference?" I say, "Absolutely," and I'll tell you where. It's in my Eagles albums, it's in my Zeppelin albums, and it's in my Doobie Brothers albums, especially Minute by Minute. Like you really can. It sounds different. It feels different. It creates a different mood listening to a lot of things on vinyl, but those three specifically, I will like fight to the death that they sound different on vinyl and they evoke something different in me. And so What a Fool Believes is a song I've been spinning on a turntable since I had it in a 45 in the early 80s. Like I have loved this song since I was little. It was one of the first songs even that I remember loving and dancing around to and knowing all the words to. And so I'm so happy that yacht rock is a thing because it gives me the opportunity to put this song on as many playlists as I want and not feel as uncool as I used to feel. That section in the 90s when everybody was like, "Are you listening to the Doobie Brothers?" Well, I am listening to it, and I always will. Well, I'm sure you're familiar with this song, but tell me about your relationship to this song if you have one.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is one that I just love how I love songs that when you get the opening notes, you're just
Mhm.
kind of in it immediately, right? Like
Yep.
it just sort of evokes a feeling of just, I don't know, a little bit of nostalgia, but also, I don't know, when I hear these opening notes, it just puts me in a good mood. So I love this song. And it's funny because it's also one of these songs that I think when I was younger, I just heard it sort of I could barely even make out the lyrics, right? Like Michael McDonald's voice was so high that I couldn't even really understand what he was saying, and I probably didn't appreciate the lyrics. And then much later, it's like you kind of read through it, and it's like this is a really well written song. Like that's
So
really
good.
well done, yeah. And so it's I don't know, just on a lot of levels, I've really just grown to appreciate this song more over the years.
Yeah, well, and you like can never dismiss the 1-2 punch of Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins. I mean, again, everybody knows I love Kenny Loggins. I'm gonna have to shout out something very cool, like really quick, because so far I think I've admitted to loving Christopher Cross, John Mayer, the Doobie Brothers. I'm really excited about the new Wet Leg album. Can I throw that in so
We're
I don't sound
no,
like I'm
we're,
100 years old?
we're hitting the demographic hard
Yeah,
this
we
week,
really
right?
are.
We've got our target demo for this show, and then this episode especially is made for them.
I promise I'm bringing you a new band that maybe you haven't heard with my next song, and I'm really excited about new stuff out there. Yeah, I feel like I've got to up my street cred here real fast, but I think that yeah, you can like these two together, like how could they not write a hit, right? I mean, Kenny Loggins is one of the best lyricists maybe ever. I mean, let's ignore Danger Zone, but that was a tough ask, right? Write a song about fighter pilots, like okay. But I think that like those two together are
Well,
so
and any number of
fantastic.
movie songs from the '80s that just were written very like
Yeah.
shot for shot from the movie, as we talked about on our first
Yes.
season of The Battle, right?
We did. But these two together, I mean, right after this, What a Fool Believes became a huge hit. And then the next time they decided to pair up together was with the Kenny Loggins song Heart to Heart, which is another yacht rock favorite that was also a huge hit. So these two really just can't miss. I mean, anytime Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins are going to sign up for anything, I'm going to go. If they're going to sign up for a pickleball team, I'm going to go watch. I think they are magic together.
By the way, Yacht Rock probably perfect for a pickleball tournament.
Right?
Okay? If you're going to make a playlist, that might be your inspiration right there. That's a good call.
Any national pickleball organizers out there who need DJs for their event, Matt and I are available and can spin some yacht rock magic. Well, as we transition out of some classic yacht rock, we are going to go into my last song of the day. And this was a band that's relatively new to me, but as soon as I found them, they started taking up a lot of space in my heart. They currently only have one album. They have a few singles, but this one full-length album is the only album we have from them. But they are promising new material and tour dates this year, so I've been keeping my eye on it. But my second pick this week is a song called You Only by a band called Silvertwin. So if you are not familiar with Silvertwin, but you are a fan of yacht rock, just run out and look at them on Spotify right now. The album is also called Silvertwin. It came out in 2021, as I mentioned earlier, probably not an accident, probably a reaction from lockdown. And they're a London-based band. And as soon as I heard them, it reminded me of 10cc, Not in Love, that song. Todd Rundgren. I get a ton of Todd Rundgren from this. So, I love both of those bands. So as soon as I heard it, I was like, who are these guys? And I had to go back and do that double take, the double take where I'm like, are they a new band that's trying to sound old, or was this an old band that I missed somehow? And turns out, they're new, but they just have nailed that yacht rock 70s easy listening kind of sound. And so again, I think if you love yacht rock, but you're kind of tired of the classic yacht rock playlist, go check out this album. The whole album is good. Silvertwin. Tell me about these guys, Matt. Were you familiar? Were they new to you? What did you think?
Yeah, it was new to me, and honestly, just kind of seamless. Like we were talking about earlier with putting Human Nature on a yacht rock mix and how it wouldn't throw anybody off. I mean, you could work these guys into a yacht rock mix. You could just throw them on the 70s channel and nobody would blink an eye. No one would question it. I think they'd be like, I must have missed these guys back in 76 when they were touring, right? I mean, they just have such a great classic sound. I mean, they've really nailed it. And Sam and I have talked about this before on the Super Awesome Mix show, how we're just kind of surprised more bands don't lean into something like this and do kind of recreate a classic sound, if you will.
Yeah.
Not that they don't want to be original or anything. I mean, I think this is very original, but at the same time, also familiar to people, so that I feel like they're going to capture an audience a little bit more quickly going this route. But I was really kind of blown away by it. I was like, wow, this is really, really well done. And so I'm excited to kind of get into their other stuff.
Yeah, like I said, the whole album is good. There's another great song on it called The Night Is Ours that I love. I felt like they nailed this. I don't know if you remember, early on, I had a band on called The Goons that specialized in recreating that 80s sound. And there hasn't been a band that's been as good at recreating I think a genre sound until I ran across these guys. And I was like, wow, I was sitting there thinking this is so brilliant because I can't tell if it was, an old album that was produced by Todd Rundgren or a new album that's produced by Jonathan Ratto of Foxygen, which it's the latter. But, again, I just thought that was so slick that I love it anytime I'm confused. If a band can fool me, what genre they're from, they've done their job, right? I go pretty deep on the liner notes. So whenever I don't know right off the bat if they're old or new, I'm always happy about that. That's always a fun surprise. Well, yes, I definitely recommend going to check out Silvertwin. They are super fun. And if you like yacht rock, I don't think you'll be disappointed by this album. Well, Matt, while we're here and before we wrap it up, maybe now would be a good time to let the listeners know why we chose to discuss yacht rock this week. I teased an announcement at the beginning of the show. So would you like to share the news with our listeners?
Yeah, Jen. I mean, you and I have, worked together on 2 seasons now of The Battle. Season 1 was all about, the ultimate 80s movie soundtrack song. Season 2 was about true crimes and criminals. And so we're excited to announce The Battle is coming back. And season 3 will focus on finding the ultimate yacht rock song.
Yes, it is a tall ask. I mean, we are going to have to get into it. I fear that I feel like we've played pretty nice seasons 1 and 2, but I'm curious how we're going to land on season 3 here. If we're going to be as aligned as we have been in the past with these yacht rock songs, because like in the documentary, they do try and kind of shoehorn Steely Dan into yacht rock,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there's an amazing, I won't give it away, but there's an amazing conversation between the producer and Donald Fagen. But I'm of the mind that you don't put Steely Dan in yacht rock. So I think we might have some interesting conversations around it this season. So
We
I'm
may,
ready to go.
yes.
I'm ready to
Yes. No,
go.
we may. So we're working right now and putting the bracket together. I think we're going to bring this to you. The last couple of seasons have been more in the fall. This one, I think, will probably land more in the summer so that, when you guys are out on your yachts, because, as we know from all the studies we've done about our audience, we have the highest percentage of yacht owners of any
That's right.
podcast out
That's
there.
right.
Okay. So, as you guys are out there on your yachts this summer, we want to give you guys something to listen to and debate about and all of it. So, we're excited. Season 3 of The Battle coming soon.
Yeah, we want you to feel seen, all of our high net worth individual listeners.
So many.
We want to make sure you feel. We want to make sure you feel represented here.
Okay, pause for that Rolex read. Go ahead, Jen. No?
Right. Yeah.
Is that next episode? Okay, we'll do a make good. Next, we'll do a make good on the next episode.
We're saving that one for The Battle.
Apologies to our friends at Rolex.
Oh, Matt, thank you so much for joining me. We always have such a good time. So thank you for taking the time to give our listeners the big announcement and your 2-song hot take on yacht rock. We're going to get into it a lot more this season on The Battle. So listeners, please be sure to follow, download, and share this show and the other 3 shows that live on the Super Awesome Mix Network. And if you love listening, drop a review on Apple or Spotify for us. Those really do help. And last but not least, to stay informed on all things Super Awesome Mix and What Are You Listening To, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Super Awesome Mix. Thanks for listening, and please join me again next week to find your new favorite song.